What in the wide world of sports is going on? What is good, TikTok? How is everyone? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Sorry,
What happened to your wall?
I never get my life together or situated before I go live, so I apologize. That's shame on me for that. What? Oh, what's good? What is good? Nothing. I'm overly excited. It's Friday. Couldn't be happier. It was a really long week. I'm glad the week is done. I'm glad it's over for the most part. It was a short week, but a long week for me. How about you? Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. See the horseshoe in the background of your profile pic? I love it. Absolutely want to talk. Now, I'll start out. I really, really, believe it or not, I try to refrain from just diving right into the Colts. Benefits of a backwards hat and go. I can see up. I can see out. The sun's not in my eyes, so I don't need it forwards. When you're bald, you don't realize how much heat you lose out of the top of your head until you have no hair. So it's, I don't know, James, ask your mama. So you don't realize, especially in the wintertime, man. I need to wear one more in the summer, keep my head from getting just completely roasted, but I'm a little late on that. So I've always got to wear, I don't always have to wear a hat, but I try to. Hopefully that. And I've been wearing my hat backwards for a long time. It used to be okay with my age. Now I'm an old man that still wears his hat backwards. So be it. I'm good. How is everyone? Happy Friday. I hope everyone's had a great week. I hope you all are on the weekend now. I hope everyone's off work at least for a day. Thank you, John. Good to see you, man. I've been good. Like I said, it's been an unbelievably long week. Even though it was a short week, I was off Monday, and oftentimes short weeks like that, or weeks with holidays or whatnot, tend to be longer weeks for whatever reason that is. And that's how it was this week. Heard your coach wants Russell Wilson. I think everybody in the city of Indianapolis wants Russell Wilson. Or anyone for that matter. But got a few things going on across the league. Took a job with the Chiefs, I believe it was, that I saw. He'll be the senior assistant and quarterbacks coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. So congratulations, Matt Nagy. He's no longer unemployed. So that's good news for him. Moving into more coaching news, that is even more happier news for me, and I've heard this, and anybody in the city of Indianapolis. It appears that Reggie Wayne is coming back to the NFL. It appears that Reggie Wayne is getting ready to take there goes Mahomes' career. And it appears that Reggie Wayne's getting ready to take an assistant wide receiver coach, potentially, position with the Indianapolis Colts. That's huge news. That's good for, not only is that good for the Colts, that's good for the National Football League. Anytime that you get a Hall of Fame caliber, and Reggie Wayne is definitely Hall of Fame caliber. He didn't get voted in yet, but he will. Anytime you get them back into the league at some capacity, that's a win for everybody. And that's great news for the Colts locker room. That's great news for the league. And even more so, that's great news for the fans of Indy to be able to have Reggie Wayne back in the house and in the Indy area. every week. That's tremendous. So I'm extremely excited about that. So Reggie Wayne back with the horseshoe. That's huge news. Looks like some other coaching moves. Nothing real big. Let's see. The quarterback's coach of the 49ers is headed to the University of Kentucky. So do you look into that too much? They've lost both. They've lost both their offensive coordinator and their quarterback coach as the club transitions from Jimmy Garoppolo. That to me just shows that that's a green light that Jimmy G will be gone from San Francisco. Not that anybody thought that wasn't going to be the case, but again, I think as we sit here, and I intend to sit here with you all on St. Patty's Day, hopefully. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about come March 17th. As of 4:00 on the 16th, March 16th, that's when the gates open up. That's when stuff goes crazy. So that's when people start getting signed, trades start moving, and it will be at 4:01. So at 4:01 on the 16th, contracts are going to be inked and all this, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't think y'all were even able to talk yet. But you know how that works. But it's just funny to me on when they have those dates and times, whether it's the NBA or the NFL. As soon as they open it up, to be traded or to sign with another team, it's like the minute that it opens up, contracts are signed. You're like, wait a minute, technically y'all weren't supposed to be talking. So what's the deal here? I just find that it's funny. Tunk talk, I appreciate that, man. Sometimes I'm on target, sometimes I'm off, in a different stratosphere. You really think Ballard will make moves in the first wave? I think Ballard has to make moves in the first wave. I think the absolute first move, obviously, is the giant elephant in the room. That's Carson Wentz. I without question, I believe, as far as the Colts are concerned, I believe the Carson Wentz move will be the first move that happens out on West 56th Street here in Indianapolis. It is what it is, and that's how it's going to work. Because until they move forward from there and really get to open it up and who we can get behind center for the 22 season and see what we get, because there's so much hinges on what we do with Wentz and what the Colts do with him. If they're getting draft picks, if they're getting anybody, you know what I mean? There's so much that's going to be tied to that. So, or if they get anything at all. I heard a rumor that Pittsburgh potentially has a quarterback lined up, which eliminates the rumor of Wentz. I never thought that Pittsburgh would be a fit for Wentz. There's been a couple of reports out there that listed Pittsburgh as like a favorite spot. Landing spot for Wentz. I don't believe that. It was always a possibility, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think Pittsburgh's going to end up. I think because what that tells me is the Colts are looking. The Colts are going to look. They're going to try to get their first round draft pick replaced. That would be the ultimate goal, right? To at least break even. Do we think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. Is Chris Ballard going to fish that and throw that out there and see if he gets a bite? Absolutely, you should. So I think Washington or Tampa is a more realistic landing spot for him, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I still think that Wentz should go to Denver or Washington. And the whole Denver thing goes back to Aaron Rodgers. If there's been one question that anybody's asked or what's going on in the NFL, it's never been more obvious that this is Aaron Rodgers' world. We all just live in it, right? Because Aaron Rodgers I don't doubt for a second that guy doesn't know what move he's going to make. That don't think he's sitting back going, what should I do? Should I stay or should I go? Should I go to Denver? Should I? No, he is so reminiscent. I don't know if any of you remember, but this is so reminiscent of Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers has always talked about, not trying to compare himself or to be Brett Favre or this, that, and the other. However, their similarities, especially as far as this is concerned, is absolutely uncanny. How he continues to drag this out, I think, is funny, and a lot of it I think he's doing for pure entertainment. And you know what? If people are going to do it and you have nothing else going on, so if I'm on a 3-month vacation from my job and people are just, hanging on and overanalyzing every word that I said on here, you better believe that I'm going to have some entertainment just to see what happens. Rodgers coming to Tennessee. That's the one place I don't believe that he would. I think he loves the attention as well. Russell Wilson. So that's another camp that I really haven't heard much out of in about 2 weeks. Wouldn't anybody trade PB&J for Wentz? Easton going to be all-starter week 1. Now, it would be Sam Ehlinger if we had a starter week 1, which I would be okay. But I'll dive into Wentz here in a little bit. Rodgers not moving. And that's the more we go as far as Aaron Rodgers is concerned, I think he ends up staying. A month ago, I thought, no way. But how he's talking now, he's really talking like somebody. But this all could be smoke and mirrors. It could all be a front. Look at the Instagram post he did. So again, I try not to look into too much of what he's saying or things that he's doing, because I think it's all a front. I really do. I think he's just trying to throw people off the scent. But what did that say? I apologize. If you all are new to me, I'm Officer Craig. Please give me a like. Please give me a follow as I have your attention, man. We talk life, law, and football. Usually a lot of football, especially here as of late. Please give me a follow if you would. I would truly appreciate that. If you have any questions or anything, just put it in the comments. But what I'm getting at is I'm very ADD, so if please bear with me, and I apologize ahead of time. So I'll see something shiny and go off on a tangent. You got to reel me back in every once in a while. So I apologize ahead of time. All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yeah, yes. Ballard going all in free agency, Wentz staying or wait in a year or 2. So, very good question. So we'll start with Ballard going all in on free agency. This season, as far as the Colts are concerned, I think Ballard will go all in as much as you'll ever see Chris Ballard go all in. I really think this, because him, like a lot of GMs this season, their seat's a little warm. Like his seat's not hot, but the dude's had to open the window in his office. Put it that way. It's getting a little warm. So he's going to have to make some moves. So I expect to see Chris Ballard make moves this season like he hasn't ever before, and like you'll probably never see him make as far as he's concerned. Now, as far as some other people's standards or some other team standards, they won't be big. For us, for Chris Ballard, for the Colts, and for what we've seen historically over the course of the past 5 seasons, I expect to see big moves happen because we are in a position where we have to. Do you live by yourself? No, I do not. I'm a father of 4. This is, like I said, that's why it's called Let's Iron It Out, because I get to do this at random times, or when my wife gets tired of me, or when I'm ironing my uniform. I'm not working tomorrow, so I'm not ironing the uniform. I had like about an hour window I could squeeze this in. We stay up late on the weekends, so we're going to start a movie somewhere around midnight or so. And no, I'm not going to the Pacer game Sunday because I'm working the combine. I'm working NFL meetings start Sunday, and I'm doing something for the league as far as some meetings that they're having. What's going on TV in the background? I have no idea. They're talking about Cole Beasley. Yeah, they're talking about Cole Beasley and the restructuring of his contract and what they're trying to do there. Because he's got a 4.9 base salary and which is over the cap. He's got a $4.9 million a year base salary coming up this year. So that's going to put them really in a position they don't want to be in. So they're either going to he's going to have to be willing to restructure his contract, or they're going to have to cut Cole Beasley loose. Coming from a fan of a team whose receiving core is piss poor, I am all about as many guys that can catch a football as possible, because right now the Colts wide receiving core is lackluster, to say the least. Yeah, he'll get absolutely. I think Beasley will get 4.9 on the open market. Absolutely. Because there's teams out there that have money to spend. I'm trying to stick. I was in the middle of a thought. Devontae, what was that about Devontae? Devontae Adams to the Raiders. I still think I don't think it ends up working out, because I think I really think they're going to try to smack the franchise tag on Devontae Adams, which I'm not. I thought I had that written down on how much that was this season. And he's not going to be happy with that, which I don't agree. I agree with. He shouldn't be happy. Last time he had a good run game and line, he went to the Super Bowl. He's coming to the end of his career, and I'm guessing we're talking about who are we talking about here? Russell Wilson? Last time he had a good run game. Desmond Patman. Okay, and thank you, Harley. I appreciate that. What's good, man? Desmond Patman, wide receiver for the Colts, very underutilized. He really didn't get, and I like Patman. I really do. He's another one that I think that can develop. Just like I think that Michael Pittman Jr. is still developing. I still expect big things out of him. I like Patman's size. I think if he plays a little bit more aggressive, but he will be a good fit here. He really just hasn't, believe it or not, he hasn't had the opportunity to really prove himself. This season just sucked all the way around as far as our quarterback and our receiving core. Let me see. Sorry. So going back to Russell Wilson, I think Russell Wilson will be gone. I think Russell Wilson, his time in Seattle is done. From what they were saying, as far as the Seahawks, for some reason, think that Russell Wilson's been holding them back. And it sounds like Russell Wilson and their head coach are butting heads and are having disagreements for whatever reason. Russell Wilson still has a good 3 good seasons. I say 3 to 5 good seasons left in him. And if you put him behind a good line, I think he's got a good 4, 5 seasons left in him of playing good, high level, productive professional football. Wilson going to the Saints, I could see that fit. However, I would see them sending him to the AFC. So when you have a big name like that, like Peyton Manning going to Denver, that wasn't a typical type of trade, especially when it comes to the quarterback position, and it's somebody that's good, that you've relied on for so long. You want to, when you have the option, you don't want to see that guy throughout the season if you can avoid it, right? The reason Peyton Manning didn't end up in the NFC was because of Eli. It wasn't for not playing against the Colts. It was because he didn't want to play against his brother. And that was understandably. He had other options. He had options to go to the NFC for bigger money. He didn't want to play against Eli, which, as far as the Mannings are concerned, you completely understand. Oh, Tony Baloney. Man, unless you keep we talked about this the other night, man. No way. My equipment gets arrested for DUI. No. Don't tell me that. Absolutely. Concealed AR-15. That's a good one. Carson Wentz, man. Like I said the other night, I think it was probably to you, I think, if I remember, Tony, is we're at that rare spot, man, that doesn't come up very often at all with any team for that matter, where you are forced to release or trade a player regardless whether you have an upgrade or not, especially when it's at a quarterback position. Some teams go forever without ever putting themselves in that position. And the Colts did exactly that. They put themselves in this position. Hey, dude, I could show you pictures and videos of people concealing a lot of weapons. But Carson Wentz is gone. We will sit here. I am fairly certain by the evening on St. Patty's Day, I will be super surprised if it's not, because I think there'll be something probably lined up already. But I think he'll be gone by the time we're drinking green beer. That's just. But he's not. Keep in mind, if you're a team that has a void, you've got you've got a void at the quarterback position, or you've got somebody that you're not 100% sold on, because what a guy like Carson Wentz brings to a team like a Washington, or somebody that's got a quarterback or even say a Cleveland. Say Cleveland decides they're going to continue with Baker Mayfield. However, we've got some more room. We need to make his seat hot. You can bring Carson Wentz in, a starting quarterback, with a second, a third, a fifth, a handful of some draft picks, and make whoever you had at that quarterback position, make them fight for that job. So you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to make that guy better because he's fighting for his job, because you just brought somebody in that has been a starter and is wanting that run, or you've got an asset that you can trade off within the first few weeks of the season. It's there's some benefit to it. But I think, and if you look at Carson Wentz's numbers, looking for $50 million a year, and he's not coming to Indy. Don't think for a second that the Colts will not be afraid to pay somebody $40 million a year. If it's the right person, and Jim Irsay sold on it, and it's not a situation where we're having to be talked into somebody. If it's a Russell Wilson that has proven themselves, you've played against them, you've watched them play, don't think for a second that the Colts will balk at that money, because they won't. Blake Bortles, oh Lord Jesus. Rodgers came out and said that he doesn't want $50 million. Oh, I don't think money is the issue to Rodgers. And because, like we've talked about before with Aaron Rodgers, why would he want to go anywhere else? He's on a team that's competing for championships now. He's in a city or a town that absolutely loves him and worships him. Where else could he go that it would put him in any better position than he's at now? There isn't one. That's why I don't think any of those things are really what's important to him right now. I think he he is considering going somewhere else just to stick his toe in the water and see what it's like to play somewhere else. Or to be, sometimes he's been there. How many, 12 seasons? Am I just completely off the reservation with this? He's been there a while. But he, sometimes change the latitude, change the attitude. You know what I'm saying? And I think, and he's hippy dippy enough that he's that type of guy that would be willing to go somewhere else just to have a change of atmosphere. Russell Wilson and Amari Cooper coming to Indy. Oh my Lord. I would, you're sold. You're hired. Jimmy G, Jimmy G, as far as the Colts, I don't see that happening at all. Jimmy G, to me, and I think to a lot of people, because they are. If you look at it, Jimmy G and Carson Wentz aren't that different. Jimmy G's better looking Carson Wentz. As Harley says all the time, he's the GQ version of Carson Wentz, but I don't think Jimmy G is as coveted of a quarterback as Jimmy G likes to think that he is, or that some people think that he is. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is grossly overrated by a lot of people, as I did and I do think the San Francisco 49ers are. Sorry, don't at me. I just think the 49ers were overrated this season. Yes, they made a playoff run. But I think that 49ers team is a prime example of sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And that's where I don't think the 49ers, they remind me a lot of the Eagles. Like, oh hell, we made the playoffs. But the 49ers were the lucky version of this season's Eagles. Because I think the Eagles themselves, I think the Eagles franchise was surprised that they made the playoffs, without a doubt. Matt Ryan to the Colts. I think Matt Ryan, I think Matt Ryan's in that position now where I don't think anybody's seeking Matt Ryan out to lead their franchise. Thank you, Mason. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Feel free to gift away like my boy Mason. And if you haven't, check him out. Give him a follow. Matt Ryan, man, yeah, I think he either finishes his career in Atlanta or he ends up being one of those guys that doesn't retire but isn't with a team, and then an injury happens to your starter, and hell, who's available? Call Matt Ryan up week 10 and sign him because he's just been sitting on the free agent list for the past 10 weeks. Unless Matt Ryan retires, that's what I see happening with him. Right? I would take Jalen Hurts for one season. I would do a 1 season deal with Jalen Hurts. That's not somebody. Actually, you know what? Let me retract my statement. I don't want anybody from Philadelphia. I'm done with the sloppy seconds of the Philadelphia Eagles. I have such a bad taste in my mouth from the Eagles with all of this, with Frank Reich, with Carson Wentz, with losing our first round draft pick. I don't want Jalen Hurts. However, like I said, a 1-year deal, okay. And unless it is Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, I guess Aaron Rodgers, and I'm on an island by myself with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. Baker Mayfield. Unless it's one of those guys, I don't think that there's really anybody that the Colts would be confident in signing more than a year deal with, because there's too many variables of the unknown. The last thing the Colts can do is paint themselves deeper into the corner they've already painted themselves into. So when you're trying to fix things or just try to get back up to par, what the Colts are doing now, they're just trying to fix what this big crap sandwich they created. What about a trade for Goff? The thing with Goff is I think that would be something that would require too much. I think that would be something that would require way too much. If that were the case, we're going to make that trade. That was a trade they should have executed this time last year and picked up Matthew Stafford, because all it would have cost was one more first-round draft pick. This is a little off topic, but what is your favorite car? The one that I have in my driveway that I drive. The one that has gas in it, and the one that is my. I'm not a over the edge car guy, but if I had one to pick, look, I drove a Charger for a lot of years, so I'm a big Charger fan. So it'd probably be a Hellcat, something fast like that. But right now it's the Tahoe that's sitting in my driveway. And Irsay wants Russ. Without question. Because out of his options, I think Wilson and Carr should be the only QB the Colts should be thinking about going after. As far as I agree. As far as signing a long-term deal, but as a fan, I think their front office kind of has this thought process as well. It's not going to be a failure if we don't have our quarterback for the next 5 seasons in the 2022 season. Does that make sense? So I don't, on what the Colts are going into, so where they're at, the Carson Wentz experiment, failure, done, horrible, everyone agrees, everyone's on point with that. So moving forward, if we don't have our franchise guy week 1 of the 2022 season, I don't think that's a failure. I think that's right where you want. If you get something for Carson Wentz, and I'm just, at this point, we're saying something. We unload him, we get something in return that will take some of the sting away from losing that first rounder, and you look on to the 23 season, you want somebody in here now that can hopefully win you some games, and you just aren't sucking hind teeth the entire season. I think Russell Wilson would do well here. Keep in mind, guys, and there's been a lot of talk coming out of Phoenix, and I know a lot of you all aren't a big fan of him. I'm not confident that Kyler Murray stays in Arizona. I'm really not. They keep coming out trying to fix a little bit. GM saying, hey, he's the future of our franchise, this, that, and the other. But I don't be surprised one bit if we end up hearing. But here's the thing, my thing with Kyler, he isn't a leader because he hasn't been developed into one. So you've got a couple of classes of leaders. So you've got natural born leaders, your Peyton Mannings, your Tom Brady. But those guys are kind of fewer and farther between. Your Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's another one. So those are all traits. Thank you for that, my guy. Joe Burrow's another one. Natural born leader. That guy just, it comes out of his pores and everything that he does, right? Then you have guys that are good athletes, but they need some help. You know, they've got great athletic ability. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, whatever the case may be, but they need some help. And as long as they're coachable in the leadership aspect of things, man, I'm all over that. And that's how I think Kyler Murray is, because look at this, it's a 24-year-old kid that's been told that people have bowed at his feet since he was probably in elementary school, but since middle school. He's always been the best that's on every football field he's stepped on since middle school. And everyone around him has told him how great he is. You are great, and they give him anything he wants, right? Because and I know this because I see it happen to young people all the time, working in schools. Then he goes to college. What happens in college? He plays lights out, baseball, football. He's cock of the walk, for lack of a better term. He walks around a large college campus, and what's everybody do? Girls want to be with him, guys want to be him. They flock to him and tell him how great that he is. Then he gets drafted in the NFL, and what's that do? That reiterates everything that everybody's told him his entire life of how great he is. He goes out there, and if you don't have a good coach or the veterans in place on that team to help mold that guy or somebody that he wants, and guys want to be with him too, absolutely. And if you don't have the right leadership already in place on that team, whether it's a coach, veterans, somebody for that kid to look up to that says, okay, what I thought I knew everything, but I know nothing compared to you. He's going to fail. And when I talk about culture, that's the culture that the Indianapolis Colts have. When I say that's why Carson Wentz is gone, regardless of an upgrade, because if he is not, you start to damage that culture. And that culture is what I'm talking about with an athlete like Kyler Murray. That's what he needs to properly develop and to take it to the next level. If not, you're going to have what you're having with him in Arizona right now. But Kyler Murray on a team like the Colts that has that championship culture, that has that ingrained in the DNA of that franchise, or any quarterback for that matter, you've got to have that guy. That's another problem with Carson Wentz here in Indy. He's not that leader. So he's not that natural born leader, and he also hasn't been, he's not really coachable in that area. So, because he's not interested in it. So, is that a cab from Oliver? It is. It absolutely is. That's a couple years old. I just put it out up there, and I probably shouldn't. But what's the point of keeping it put up and locked away, right? My t-shirt guy, I'm ready. Man, I need to. Matter of fact, what are your plans this weekend, man? Maybe we need to chat. That's one of the things that has been on my to-do list, and yet here I am, and I don't think about it until I get ready to sit down. I'm like, you know what? It'd be nice to throw one of my own t-shirts on right now before I'm doing this. Instead, I'm repping Donnie Baker. For those of you that don't know him, check him out. He's a hot mess, and I find him incredibly funny. Pray for the people of Ukraine. Absolutely. That whole thing over there is an absolute mess. These kids keep with them have ruined many careers. Oh, absolutely. State law. You got that right. Only Colt left in the building that has championship culture is Jim Irsay. Yeah, no, that's not true. That's not true. And championship culture is in every corner of that building. It's down to only the pictures in the wall of the hallway that they showed on Hard Knocks are of teams that have made the playoffs. It's Jim Irsay may be one of the only ones left that was involved with the team when they won the Super Bowl, but that's not true. That's why Frank Reich is there. Frank Reich was there during the Peyton Manning era. So there's so many people behind the scenes. That's why Reggie Wayne, because the Colts make moves like that. Cato June, linebackers coach now. Reggie Wayne coming in. That's how you maintain that culture. Once you've taken so long to build it, you maintain it by putting pieces to that puzzle like the Colts continue to do. Whether it's Robert Mathis, that he's been a coach and now he's an advisor or whatnot. But you do things like that. Irsay paid Luck millions when he didn't have to. Solid owner. Yeah, he did. I think it was last season that he just paid Luck his last paycheck. Not true. 87 come back as a coach. Yes, did you not hear that? Reggie Wayne, it's not official, but this has come out here. All reports here in Indy. Reggie Wayne's coming back, and the NFL's actually reporting it now as well, that Reggie Wayne is coming back as wide receivers coach here in Indy, which is absolutely amazing for the Colts. But like I said, that's not only good for the Indianapolis Colts, that's good for the National Football League, man. Anytime you get a future Hall of Famer that back to be involved with the league at some capacity, that's a win-win. That's a win for that team. That's a win for the fans. That's a win for the league overall. And I love to see it, especially when it's a guy like Reggie Wayne. And talking about culture, when you have a piss-poor receiving corps, and I'm sorry if I shouldn't talk negatively. I've met some of the guys from the Colts receivers. Nothing against them personally. When their stats are as piss poor as they were this season, that's no secret. We had one receiver that had 400 yards. One of the only teams in the league that only had one receiver at 400 yards this season. Bringing one of the best wide receivers that ever played the game, that wore that horseshoe on his helmet, that has a Super Bowl ring, bringing him back in, that does to those players. They're like, okay, what are you going to tell this guy? You have to shut your mouth and listen, no matter if you respect anybody else in that building or not, because he has something that you don't. He's been somewhere that you haven't, and even the biggest egotistical maniac understands that. Okay, I got to shut up and listen to this guy because his face is all over this building. So. Why would Russell want to play in the AFC when he doesn't have to? Makes no sense. Right. I mean, why he doesn't have to play for the Seahawks. I mean, he doesn't have to go. I think it's going to come down when Russell Wilson leaves, it's going to come down to him going to a team that he thinks has promise, and it's the shortest. The shortest trip and opportunity to make it back to the Super Bowl. And do you think the Colts could be that team? Because I think they could be. I'm not saying they're a Russell Wilson away from making the Super Bowl or playing the Super Bowl. However, keep in mind, the Colts were a playoff team season before last with Phillip Rivers. Everybody forgot that. That's why the Carson Wentz thing was such a failure, because he was brought in not to make the playoffs. He was brought in to take us deeper into the playoffs. And when that didn't happen, when we didn't make the playoffs at all, all of that failure, majority of it, fell on his shoulders. Seahawks ran the damn ball. Why would you pass? Oh, my Lord. Exactly. That's the $1 million question, right? Juju or Godwin? I would have to go as far as a fit from the Colts position, Godwin all day long, just because of Juju's of his sometimes overbearing personality, I guess. Tampa Bay QB position way more enticing than the Colts. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Well, I say without a doubt. A lot of that depends on if they're able to keep all the pieces to that puzzle. And that's why I continue to preach Carson Wentz to Tampa, because they also want the shortest line that they can get as a replacement to Tom Brady and keep what they've built and to retain the players that they have. Because you think they want to lose Godwin? Absolutely not. But they're going to need a quarterback, somebody that's been there, done that. And they could go after Russell Wilson, absolutely. But what I go back to is, like what I was saying, is you think the Seahawks want Russell, if they had to choose, who do you think they want him playing for? an NFC team or an AFC team. They're going to want him to go to a team that's not in their division. What is up, Harvey? What's good, man? I am doing well. Happy Friday to you. For the few of you that are left in here on this Friday night, I'm Officer Craig. If you haven't followed me already, please give me a follow. I appreciate that. Cousins staying with the Vikings. So, I don't think Cousin does stay with the Vikings. I don't know where he ends up, but I've heard some back and forth on that, and some of the back that I've heard about it, I'm like, there's no way he stays in Minnesota. I think but again, they're not in the situation that the Colts are in, so who is their upgrade? So for the Vikings to make that move, they will have to. They have to have an upgrade. They're not in a position. They didn't screw themselves over like the Colts did. And you bring up the name Jimmy G. Do they move on? Do they move on from Kirk Cousins and bring in Jimmy Garoppolo? I'm just asking a hypothetical. And if you're a Minnesota fan, what would you think about that move? Wentz had more yards and more TDs than Wilson, and Wilson has top two. He did. He also had more than Josh Allen. Keep that in mind. He had more than Josh Allen. He had more than... I want to have to look that up. But again, like we've talked about, Carson Wentz's numbers from this season are so deceiving. So deceiving. It doesn't show... and he only had 7 interceptions. But again, those don't count the interceptions that the other team dropped, that he threw to the other team and they dropped. So those numbers are deceiving. Very, very deceiving. And like I preach about the whole thing, the not getting to the playoffs, especially the play in the last 2 weeks of the season. Quit blaming the whole season on Wentz. It's annoying. And how's that annoying and wrong? You would get fired if you were paid $25,000 a year, let alone $25 million a year, and didn't make the playoffs. Did you watch a Colts game won this season? I'm guessing probably not. So that's and there were other people that obviously, Frank Reich has to take a lot of that blame. But Carson Wentz was not what he was brought here to be, without question. Without question. Because again, the Colts made the playoffs in 2020. We lost to the Bills, and they should have won that game. They lost to the Bills. So it wasn't like, okay, Carson Wentz is going to get here and might bring us to the playoffs. Negative. That wasn't the case. He came here and took a playoff team and took it backwards. That's the problem with Carson Wentz. That's why he's leaving. That's the issue with that. Yeah, and hell, anybody could have. No, Wentz could play for free next season, and the Colts would not keep him. That's why. We do. Wentz was not good before he came. Trust me. That's why he's leaving. And the only reason Wentz came is because Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, and the owner, Jim Irsay, have such tremendous respect for the head coach, Frank Reich, is the only reason. Frank Reich is the sole person. He is solely responsible for bringing Carson Wentz to Indy. He had to talk both the GM and the owner into making it work to bring him here, because he said, this is it. This is the guy that's going to take us deep into the playoffs and give us that championship run. That's why. And that's why I say it was so bad. And the locker room was bad. What he was for the locker room and what he did and didn't do here, that's why he's gone. It doesn't matter if the money's not the issue. Money's not the issue at all. Like I said, he can play for $1 next season, and the Colts will not keep him. Absolutely not. I'm telling y'all, it was that bad. And when I say it was that bad, I don't mean just the wins and losses. Of course, that's essentially all that really matters, but it's not. It was how his demeanor in the locker room. It started when he got here. So he got here, didn't go to training camp because he came here injured, fresh off of surgery. He couldn't go to camp. Comes here, gets hurt, has to have surgery right out of the gate. And then they have the vaccine mandate, right? And then the Colts give up all of this, and you have your guy that's supposed to take your team to the promised land. And I support whatever you think about the vaccine mandate. I support. Because everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Do whatever you want with it. However, I will say if you're being paid $25 million a year to do anything, you probably should do whatever that person's paying you $25 million a year to do. You better believe if my department wanted to pay me $25 million a year, if they wanted to pay me $250,000 a year, I will take whatever shot they want to give me, wherever they want to give it to me. But what I'm saying is, as a leader or the leader of the franchise and the face of the franchise, that was him not taking the jab was, yeah, but Rodgers grew roots. Rodgers has roots in Green Bay. Everyone knows this guy. He's not Johnny-come-lately, brand new to a franchise, brand new to a town, to somebody that just gave him a second chance at his career and are like, what? No. I'm going to let this ride. I know you just gambled your future on me, your future draft picks, and you're paying me all this money, and I was just run out of the last town I was in, but I'm going to just immediately come here and gamble my health, and because that's in the eyes of the franchise, that's what they were seeing. They're saying, oh hell, what happens if he gets quarantined week 5 or late in the season during a playoff run? What happens? Right? So that was... He made them start to ask questions and start to worry when they shouldn't have had to. That's not how corporate America works. Do less, make more is the new American dream. Yeah, right? But not here. Because that's why he's one and done here in Indy. Also haven't heard Wentz do anything. And that's the other thing for the community. People think I'm silly for that, but here in Indy's not Philly. Indy's not New York, obviously. It's not, it's not this ginormous market. So when he was a millionaire already, but that guy, he is so into himself. This hurts him. This hurts him in a lot of ways. He was so, he played with such a chip on his shoulder and it was all about him. This entire season, it wasn't about what we can do as a team. It wasn't about his teammates and this, that, and the other. It was about him trying to prove a point so he could say F you to Philly. And hey, whatever your driving factor is, so be it. But you've got to be a team player. And when you're doing this, and when you're here in Indy and you're a quarterback and the franchise has gambled their future on somebody like you to bring you out of a town that hated you, go out and do something, anything for the community. Go out and be exposed to the fans. Go so people talk good stuff about you. That hasn't happened. You hear about the murder in Carmel this week? Oh, No kidding. What, I'm from Fargo, and we even saw this at NDSU. No kidding. Dudes are multimillionaires because of GMs. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there are situations like this that happen all over. What's the AO1 Foundation? Is it some Carson Wentz related foundation? Well, yeah. I mean, I can have a foundation, but that doesn't mean that I'm out doing anything. Just because you put your name on something doesn't mean you're really out doing anything, right? I mean, the proof's in the pudding, and it's a lot easier. Like stuff like that is a lot easier to hide behind when you're in a Philadelphia because you're not running into people, or you're running into people, but it's not small. It's not a small town or small market. But again, he was doing things that benefit him or his foundation. Audience of one. Sounds about right. I appreciate the follow. Thank you. This football season is going to be a laughing sport this year. The Bears paid Glennon $16 million. Best player ever, Tom Brady. Best in what? Best is very, very subjective. Because I think the smartest quarterback ever to play the game is Peyton Manning. I don't think Tom Brady had the best arm ever. Okay, so if he started this in Indy and they've done such great things, I've lived in Indy my entire life with the exception of a short stint in Florida. Why haven't I heard about it? Why hasn't anybody else in Indy heard about it? Why? I mean, if they were doing now, guess who you have heard about doing stuff? Jonathan Taylor, Darius Leonard. The list goes on and on and on and on.
When you want to talk, I'm here.
You said look up AO1 Foundation. I had to look it up. If there's anybody, if that's the case, if there's anybody that should know, it should be the people that live in Indy, right? But again, like I said, if he's doing stuff, making your own foundation, he didn't start it in Indy. It's got a Pennsylvania address. Schweckley or Sweekley, Pennsylvania. And all of his corporate partners are non-Indiana corporate partners. None of those are not Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, First Western Bank and Trust. We don't have those in Indiana at all. Shields, Gear, Passion Sports. Never heard of that. But so that's all I'm getting on. That's what I'm getting at. Right. So the fact that the face of our franchise that we're having to split hairs on what he's done for the community here in Indy is sad. That's sad, especially if it's a team or it's a city that's giving you a second chance. You have Shields out there in Omaha. See? All right, there we go. I like it. Anyone see my man cave on SportsCenter Instagram the other day? No. What was on it? It was really on SportsCenter? Indy booed Ryan Leaf when he retired. Terrible look back then. I tell you what, it was about 50-50, maybe. It was probably more. There was a lot of people in the Indianapolis market that wanted Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning. So those two are tied at the hip. Respect. Nobody cares about Indy's small market team. You do realize the majority of the NFL teams are not New York, right? With little upside, the Indianapolis Colts are one of the, I would say, probably top 10 franchises, or top 15 at least, in the league. I appreciate that. I'm gonna have to check that out. What day was that? They showed your they showed your man cave. Yeah, it was at least 50-50 on the whole Ryan Leaf thing. That was wild. You're right. He shouldn't be, but going back and I'm on the whole Wentz thing because I don't operate like that, so it's hard for me to fathom when somebody thinks like that. I don't think, like, and I use this analogy all the time. If some other police department were to call me up in another city, say, hey, we love you and you're amazing at policing and we want you to come here, I would do everything I could to do right by those people, do right by, the people I worked for, do right by that department, the people I served and protected. I would do everything that I could to go out of my way, and I'd put extra effort in just to say, hey, I'm your guy. I'm here. I'm your ride or die. You didn't make a mistake by giving me a second chance. That's all. I don't operate or think like that. That's why I have such a hard time with it. Oh, Dan, good point. So you weren't here night before last. So we talked about that the other night, right? I was hoping it should be here tomorrow. I already ordered one. So I've got a Mayflower truck on the way. So thank you for that idea, by the way, because that was great. I'm like, you know what? That is something I also, again, just real quick, for those of you that are new to me that don't follow me, please give me a like, please give me a follow. I'm Officer Craig. Lifelong football is what we talk about the most, mainly football. But if you have anything unfootball related or any police questions or anything else, just put it in the chat. All I ask is you just be respectful, please, and thank you. And I appreciate that. I also have an address. There's been a couple of people that have wanted to send me some stuff. There's an address in my bio. Give me a heads up if you will before it comes, or don't. Just don't send me anything too inappropriate. But you can too. The hell, I don't mind. As long as it's not going to hurt anybody, I don't mind. Why I always show up late? Because I'm always late. Ursay totally different than his father. Plenty of big markets outside of New York. Which one? Like I said, Indianapolis is a top 15 franchise. Probably top 10 because we're the 15th or 16th largest city. Maybe 15 now. Absolutely. Chicago's ginormous. Right. But they're not even, but what I'm saying is they're not in the bottom half of market sizes, though, as football teams. Watch Pat McAfee last episode. I haven't watched any of him in quite some time. So, question: any of you know about Dallas? Just in general, I was there once as a kid, and I don't remember anything about the city. Anybody know the breakdown of Dallas Fort Worth? I understand it's two separate cities, But how is that just in a general area? I'm asking a serious geographical question here. Why are those two always tied to each other?
The dream they said was impossible can become undeniable.
Football markets don't matter like they do in baseball and basketball. No, yeah, like the you take the Colts between the Pacers. No, so I was asking about Dallas. So Dallas Fort Worth. Okay. Why are those two attached at the hip? I've never spent any time in Dallas. The only time I've been there, I was maybe 11 or 12, maybe. Are those just two complete separate cities? Are they just one area that's kind of blended together now, that's just spread out? Why is Dallas and Fort Worth always tied together? That's my question. Is it similar to Minneapolis, St. Paul? That's my question. How far apart? Like how far apart are they apart or next to each other, or is it just grown so much it's all kind of like one area now? If that made any sense whatsoever. Yeah, their stadium. I've got a cousin that's a huge Cowboys fan. Right, and that's what I was. And going about the Colts, yeah, the Indy's not a big market, but it's not small like the Bengals. And that's what I was getting at when he said it was small and nobody cares about it. I'm like, yeah, but it's not the smallest. I wouldn't even put it in the bottom half out of 32 teams of the bottom. However, now our stadium, even though as new as it is, I still think it's probably one of the smaller stadiums, I think, still in the league. It is in the bottom half. Okay. More like Tampa, St. Pete. That makes sense. Okay. Makes sense. And I don't even know why I asked that. That's one of those questions that I've always kind of had in my mind and never really, it wasn't important enough for me to even look into it or to look it up. And it crossed my mind as we were talking about Dallas. So Manning was able to make a big career at Indy. Manning made Indy. The Colts would not be in Indy without Peyton Manning. Without question. Yeah, I think Green Bay's the smallest. Yeah. But, yeah, going back to that, the Colts almost went to L.A. in 2001, I think. Fort Worth is a dry county. Is it for real? It makes up like 10. Holy hell. Yeah, like, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, Pasco. Right. Oh, yeah. And it would be just like anything else if we're still on Russell Wilson. Like, he wouldn't... It wouldn't be a situation where they lived here permanently. And we've had plenty of guys that have done that because there's not a lot that goes on in Indy, especially in the wintertime. It's not, you don't have the commercial opportunities or anything like that if you're a blossoming or budding NFL or NBA star. A lot of guys will have small houses or condos or whatever here close to the stadium or close to the facility, and then they just fly in and out. A lot of Pacers have been like that over the years. none taken, man. I get it. Trust me. But I think there's. But what I was getting at is you said there's nothing here aside from Peyton Manning or luck, and I don't think that's the case. If you're a player, and keep in mind, guys in the NFL do not take the approach of NBA players. They don't. I don't think location means as much as guys in the NBA. They're not. They're not bouncing around. They don't have, all this off time in the week. You're working. So during that 18 weeks plus, they're working every day. Boom, 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 boom. They get one day off. They don't feel like doing anything on that day off anyways. Unlike NBA players where they'll get some days off at a time between games, and they might have a practice here or there, but they've got a lot of time to go out and go to the club or go do something else. Indy's better than it was once upon a time in the early to mid 90s, but I think Wilson moves to. I like that idea. I think Wilson moves to Vegas and we get Carr because I am okay. I am completely okay with Derek Carr. That is, and I wouldn't be. I just don't want to trade multiple. I don't want to trade any more first-round draft picks. Indy's a cool city as far as Indy is a big little city. So Indy has that big city feel. So it's got everything that a big city would have. Your downtown. And there's a reason, like the Combine's here next week. The Combine's been here since I think it's 1986. There's a reason for that. Everything in Indy has been built for stuff like the Combine. It's a sports city like that. It's definitely they used to call it for a long time the amateur sports capital of the world. Now we've got the NCAA's headquarters here. There's so many things that go on, not just on a professional level, but there's so many other sports and events that go on here. As well as conventions, that it was built for that. It's easy to navigate. It's easy to get around. You get a hotel downtown, and everything that you do, whether it's a game, combine, whatever, and food and restaurants, it's all within walking distance. And I mean short walking distance, within a block or two. So that's what's made Indianapolis what it is. And attractive because a lot of people, especially like the Combine, they're like, why the hell is the Combine in Indianapolis of all places? That's why they fought other, LA and Dallas have pretty much been the only two that fought. They're the only two that put a bid in for next season for it to be elsewhere. And hell, Los Angeles shouldn't even got a vote. They're new. Probably should have the Super Bowl there. That way there's no home field. They're huge conventions. That's what I was saying. The Indianapolis's proximity to everything with the convention center, the stadiums, hotels, and all the restaurants. It was built just for conventions or big events, games, combines, stuff like that. It was built just for that. And like I was telling a lot of you guys before, and when it's cold in the wintertime, majority of Indianapolis is all connected by underground tunnels or skywalks. So you can stay at the JW Marriott downtown and never go outside. Go to Lucas Oil Stadium, go to the convention center. Like when I work the Combine all this week, because I'll be at the Combine for the next week, everything I do, I won't go outside. I'll go from convention center I work the Marriott Sunday. I'll go to the convention center and then over to Lucas Oil Stadium during the week and never go outside until I leave. Is that Big Blue Hotel still there? Yeah, that's the JW Marriott. That's the one that they put the March Madness bracket up. They act like we're in Canada. It's not that cold here. Right. You're absolutely right. Like, who was it that just took a shot at Indy for it being cold? What reporter was it? I can't remember. It was just this past week. They took a stab at saying they were freezing their backside off. That's not true. Nelson and Taylor could be a part of trades. What did I miss there? Because now we're speaking my language. Come to Minnesota if you want to see cold. Yeah, right? And if any of you have never been to Indy, come in the month of May. There's nothing like the city of Indianapolis. I don't care where I've gone in this country or anywhere in the world. There's nothing like Indianapolis during the month of May. There really isn't. With the Indy 500, that should be on everyone's bucket list. If you've never been to the Indy 500, put it on your bucket list because it's the largest sporting event in the world. And to be someplace where there's 350 to 400,000 people that are together watching a sporting event outside, it's pretty cool. And the race is fun as well. We're back. We're speaking my language about how's it going, officer from an ex-convict? I'm good. How are you, man? You doing all right? How's life treating you, man? And look, just because I'm an officer doesn't mean I don't get life. And I tell people this all the time. I started my law enforcement career once upon a time. I started by working inside of a jail. And I'm the one guy that I see people from high school or whatnot, and they're like, "You've got to be kidding me. I heard you were a cop now. How in the hell?" But what I'm getting at is I worked at jail, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, jails are full of good people. They really are. People think the worst when it comes to jail, but the majority of people in jail are good people that have made a bad decision or have made a mistake. And that's what your county jails are. That's just it. I mean, granted, you'll have guys that have done some pretty heinous stuff in there, but the majority of populations usually are good people that are not out, trying to harm somebody or whatever else. That's not their intent. But they've fallen on hard times, or they do something stupid or make a mistake, as we all have. So for anybody to think that they're above anyone that's in there, sucks. All right, what are we talking about? If you trade Nelson for Wilson, you should take it. Indy 500 is the best and worst experience of your life. Absolutely. Bo, true words have never been spoken. You just go to the time trial. Yes, Ian Rappaport. Do you realize you need a running back to win a Super Bowl? Yes and no. But you don't need an MVP caliber running back to win a Super Bowl. You don't need Derrick Henry to win a Super Bowl. Right? And the Indianapolis Colts, we already had 2 running backs. Like every other team in the league, I bet most people would be hard-pressed to name off 10 running backs, 10 starting running backs from 10 NFL teams. I guarantee it, just because the running backs they're not what they once were anymore. So, and it's running back by committee. You don't have to have somebody that's just a future Hall of Famer at tailback. You just don't. That's the NFL we live in and watch now. It is what it is. That's why, and the Colts getting Jonathan Taylor, they didn't need him. They had Naheem Hines in on a big contract. I would trade Q before I let Taylor go. See? But I don't know about that. I don't know. I go back and forth with that. You don't need Jonathan Taylor to win a Super Bowl. Absolutely. You do not. Last 5 Super Bowl winners, did they have a league-leading running back? Not even close. Not even close. Zero running back strategy won me fantasy this year. That's awesome. It'd been nice to have had Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a great asset. Don't get me wrong. I love Jonathan Taylor, and if I wish we would have fed him the ball more this season. But when it comes down to, I hate the amount of money that we're paying Quentin Nelson as a guard. I really do, especially when we have such a vacancy at left tackle. The money we're paying Quentin Nelson is, but the line, if we had a good left tackle, an anchor of a left tackle, and look at the injuries the Colts offensive line had this year. They made it work with a patchwork offensive line that a lot of teams do without paying them tremendous, tens of millions of dollars a year. So I think if the Colts do get an offer for Quentin Nelson that would put us back in this game with whether draft picks or an opportunity or some more assets to be able to go out and get a franchise quarterback, I would go after it. If I had my preference as we sit here right now, I would prefer the Colts to draft a quarterback. I would do whatever you can to go get Pickett, and we sit back and let it work. And that's what I think. Because we're going 6 years, 6 seasons now separated from this Andrew Luck leaving, quitting, whatever you want to call it. Quentin Nelson repeatedly violated the COVID conduct protocols the past 2 years. There's good question. Who is untouchable on the Colts roster for you? There's only one, and that's Darius Leonard. And why Darius Leonard to me is untouchable is because of what he brings, not just on the field. His on the field play is tremendous. The whole punch out thing and what he's done, but the leader that he is, he is a man among boys in that locker room and on that field. There's nobody. I don't think there's another athlete that is wearing the horseshoe that wants to win more than Darius Leonard does. And if you watch even, the Inside the NFL or even during the, what was the HBO show? Hard Knocks. During Hard Knocks, that was never more prevalent than him. I like Kenny Moore. Don't get me wrong. I like Kenny Moore a lot. But Kenny Moore played like hell the past few games of the season. He really did. But I don't think other players don't respect Kenny Moore like they respect Darius Leonard, and they don't listen to Kenny Moore like they do Darius Leonard. That's what I mean by it. His leadership is second to none as far as being a captain. So, guys, again, I'm Officer Craig. Please give me a follow if you haven't already. I would appreciate that more than you know. If you're ever on YouTube, I upload these lives, so if you missed any part of it or whatnot, it'll be uploaded to YouTube. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I put some different, more law enforcement related stuff on there. I've got it, and I'll do it over the weekend. I've never really done much with YouTube, but I'm starting to do more with YouTube now. But I've got a lot of content that I'll be putting up over the weekend. So if you want to hear any more of this or less of it or whatever the case may be, go to my YouTube channel. It's Officer Craig. Go to my YouTube channel, check it out. That way you can fast forward, rewind, whatever the case may be for the lives. Ryan Kelly. This year, when Ryan Kelly and his wife had the unfortunate loss of their daughter, number 63, who filled in for him, came in and didn't skip a beat, and he was not the only one that filled in for a starter, and you couldn't tell. Yeah, it was Pinter, and he was. Ryan Kelly does back the blue. I'm a Ryan Kelly fan. However, I don't think. I think Ryan Kelly's worth more to us than he would be for us to trade. That's what I think, and I like him as a person, what he brings to the team, what he brings. I like all the guys on that line. However, right, like Jeff Saturday, I think was a 6th round pick too. So when you talk about offensive lines, you don't have to have a 1st round draft pick. There's talent out there to be had. If your GM's scouting right, you don't have to pay a guard a tremendous amount of money like we're paying Quentin Nelson. He could slide to guard. He absolutely could. If you could move Quentin Nelson to the left tackle position, which Chris Ballard thinks is he absolutely could. If you could move Quentin Nelson to the left tackle position, which Chris Ballard thinks is a just asinine idea, but if I'm paying you this kind of money, guess what? Your big backside's going to learn how to play left tackle, and you're going to do it. You're going to do it well. Oh man, what would you give up for Wilson max trade? We know there's going to be a 1st round draft pick in there somewhere, and I hate that. I hate it. I hate it. That's why I think if we were able to get some 2s or a 2 or 2 2s, now and in a year or 2 or 3, we've got to get some picks for Carson Wentz. That's why I think that's imperative, that we get something for him. And it doesn't all have to be this year. It doesn't all have to be next year. It can be spread out over the next couple of seasons. I would be more comfortable if we had an additional one or a couple 2nd round picks. I would be a lot more comfortable letting next year's 1st round go paired with somebody else. You ain't getting more than a 4th from Wentz. You aren't you the same one that told me that was just saying his numbers were better than all of these other people? How much you want to bet? I bet we don't get any less than a 3 for him. Well, you were on here though, right? Yeah. What I think for that. What I think for the whole Wentz thing. Well, I apologize, sir. I think that I use the whole marriage analogy. I was married once. My ex-wife's remarried, and so am I. So we despised each other. That marriage didn't work. But guess what? We're married now, and we're to somebody else, and it works, and we're both happy. So just because it's not working here, there's other teams out there, and that they can get for a bottom. They think they can get a bottom dollar, or bargain basement deal on him, and bring him in. And it would be a bargain. You bring Carson Wentz in. If you're a Washington, you bring Carson Wentz in for a second this year and a 3rd next year, or a 3rd this year and a 2nd next year, or whatever the case may be. You're getting a deal. Look at his numbers. Just because it didn't work here, that was more of a management situation, coach, the expectations that were sold with him and put on him. That doesn't mean that he won't work somewhere else. Oh, absolutely. A lot of teams want to be considered an upgrade. Law Doggy Wentz is gone, man. He is spoken about in past terms, even on 56th Street. He is being talked about in past terms. So he is gone. Yes, perf. Good question. But teachers are on perf too, though. But it's not the 77. It's not the 77 perf. Y'all want Jimmy for? No, I'm good. I don't want Jimmy for a $2 and a fish sandwich. No, thank you. Wentz to Pittsburgh. We just talked about that earlier. Somebody was telling me, and I hadn't heard this, that it sounds like that they were dialing any Wentz talk back, dialing it back about talking about bringing him in. So I really think, and Washington has, I think, the 11th overall pick. But even then, I'll take the fish sandwich and keep Jimmy. But even if Washington, and a lot of mock drafts have Pickett going to Washington, even if they did that, it would still make sense to bring somebody in, unless you think that he's right out of the gate. Pickett's going to be, your lights out starter, which I don't think. Cowboys fan, how about them Cowboys? Hey, I have nothing against the Dallas Cowboys. I followed the Cowboys for a lot of years. I was a Cowboys fan before the Colts came to town. I would trade Wentz for Curtis Painter and a Snickers. We just talked about that. Whatever happened to Curtis Painter? Where did anybody know where that dude ended his career? That's the second time he's come up. You know what? Mitch Trubisky. So, heard some talk out of him. He sounds like he's been rejuvenated in Buffalo, that, being on a winning team has put his mindset somewhere different. And guess what? He did play for the Bears. He spent most of his career there. So I wouldn't be against, and this is how bad the whole Naptown Breakers, what's good, man? I wouldn't be against a 1-year deal with him. Again, unless it's our long-term starter, I'm pretty much okay with anybody but Carson Wentz for the 22 season. No, I'm saying, but I wouldn't mind signing and giving Mitch Trubisky an opportunity. If we end up not making a deal, Carson Wentz goes away, we have Sam Ehlinger on our roster. I would be okay doing a 1-year deal with Trubisky. I would okay bringing Marcus Mariota in for a 1-year deal. It is what it is. You roll the dice, you bring somebody in that's been a starter before, is an upgrade. Anybody's going to be an upgrade for the position we were in Wentz. With Wentz here. So, and it rejuvenates your team somewhat, and the fan base, and you make it work. But brings in Matt Nagy's in KC. Were you here when Matt Nagy just signed a deal with KC? Matt Nagy is officially employed. He is with Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, I promise. I just read that before at the beginning of the live. Stand by one. Where is it? Hell, you can probably find it before I read it. And this is per the NFL. Kansas City Chiefs hired former Chicago Bears coach Matt Nagy as a senior assistant quarterback coach. He's the quarterback's coach by Patrick Mahomes. I don't understand this. I don't get where this I just don't get what the Chiefs are doing there. They must see something none of us do. For Brenda Flores? Yeah, but Matt Nagy, if you've got somebody like Patrick Mahomes, Matt Nagy didn't have a very good track record as a coach. The Chiefs just need a better quarterback. Justin, what's good, man? Yeah, Brian Flores. Yes, I would. Well, I talked about Flores the other night. If you had asked me that a month ago, I would take Rivers back, doggy. I'm telling you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let me stick with a thought here for the first time ever. Oh, Flores. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would have loved to have had Flores here. I think Flores shot himself in the foot with being a head coach because as a GM or an owner, you would have to be very reluctant bringing a guy in that's suing the league. And what I mean by that is anything that goes on after every win, after every loss, after any time that if he's your head coach, anytime there's a microphone in his face, that question and that lawsuit about the league is going to come up. So that completely takes focus off your team, what you're trying to achieve, and puts it on that. That's why I would say no. But I don't know. I'm pretty frustrated with Frank Reich. I might even take that right now. But that would be my only reluctant with Brian Flores now is that lawsuit. I think he should have played the long game with that a little bit longer, got a head coaching position, and then went for the jugular. Because time was on his side. Time was on his side with that. So I think he should have. Frank lost my support again. Buffalo playoff game. Frank, he made a lot of bad head coaching moves this year. A lot of bad play calls. Flores should have never been fired from Miami. He beat New England. Oh, I agree. I mean, look where Miami is just used to, playing deep into the playoffs, and he didn't make that happen for him. Seriously? They were actually, they beat New England. They were in the hunt for the playoffs. Everyone was surprised about that. But that tells me something else was going on. Got license for bounty hunting. No, you did not. Patty Mayo in the house, everybody. Congratulations, man. So, did that set you back quite a bit of money? Why are we hiring old Colts players to fill up our coaching staff? Should we be worried? Not at all. I don't know if you were here when I was talking about that. I talk a lot about culture and a winning culture or championship culture or whatever. And that's a big reason why Carson Wentz has to go. Because you keep him because you don't have an upgrade, you start to damage the winning culture that the Colts have created over the course of multiple decades, right? That's why you cannot keep Carson. That's why Carson Wentz is gone. You continue that culture, and then somebody else chimed in. They're like, the only person that is a part of a championship culture still with the Colts is Jim Irsay. And I said, no, that's not. He may be the only one that's there now that you know of that was there when the Colts won a Super Bowl last. However, the Colts continue setting the bar that high and continue that culture in the locker room and with that franchise because of moves like this. You bring in Robert Mathis, Cato June, who they just hired as linebackers coach, Reggie Wayne. And like I was talking about Kyler Murray, you have young guys that have been told how great they are their entire life. Then they get to the National Football League. They're paid a tremendous amount of money. Everybody on social media tells them they're great. Everywhere they go, somebody tells them they're great. Yeah, then you go to your locker room or to practice, and then you see somebody that's been somewhere you haven't, that's done something you haven't done, and this guy's face is all over this building. So that's He may end up being a great coach, but hell, just Reggie Wayne's presence there and being in that locker room and on the sidelines, what that does to that team is tremendous, especially with a receiving core that has just been horrendous this past season. I can't get over Nagy having a QB job, especially at Kansas City, of all places. But on the flip side of that, look at it like this. As bad as some people may think of Nagy, right? How much coaching does Patrick Mahomes really need at this point? Like, everybody needs a coach, right? However, he's not really going to be developing Patrick Mahomes. He's not really molding him. So, I guess, playing devil's advocate for a second, you would think that Patrick Mahomes would be safe because he's a Super Bowl champion quarterback. He's already built and has been molded into what he's going to be. So Nagy's not going to be really putting his fingerprints much on him at all. I don't know. Hold on. He was. That's right. He was. Okay. Nagy was the Chiefs quarterback coach from 2013 to 2015 before he got promoted to offensive coordinator 2016-2017. I had forgotten completely that's where he came from. Okay, so that makes sense. So it's not completely foreign territory. All right, that makes complete sense. And then, like I also mentioned, the Niners hired a new quarterbacks coach along with the new offensive coordinator. So that, if you're a Niners fan or looking on the outside looking in, all signs point to we're moving on from Jimmy G. Man, there's quite a few that the Colts should go after. I think the Colts, man, I tell you what, depending on what the Bills do with Cole Beasley, they're having to restructure Cole Beasley's contract or release him. I would, if he ends up getting released, I would like to see Cole Beasley come to Indy. I think. But a lot of it, first, there's like in big bold letters on the need list for the Indianapolis Colts, quarterback obviously, but we'll just put that in the side by itself. Left tackle, wide receiver, pass rusher. So the Colts have a lot of needs. They truly do. Yes, Niners did get a new quarterback coach. His name is Rich Scangarello. I'm sure I'm completely messing that up. Scangarello. No, they didn't hire one. But their quarterback's coach went to UK. They haven't hired a new one yet. I had no idea who this guy was. So he went to UK. So they haven't hired a new one yet. I misspoke. Damn, $1,200. Justin, you paid $1,200 for that license? Daggone. Yes, he's the one. Okay, that's what I read that wrong. I apologize. Any native David Bell would be a steal in the second round for wide receiver. He absolutely would be. Trade for a healthy Khalil Mack. There's way too much money in for Khalil Mack. I depending on, and a lot of that's going to depend on what we end up, because we're going to have to spend some money at the quarterback position. Are you really? Be careful, man. Kwity Paye's going. Oh yeah, Kwity Paye. I'm a big fan of Kwity Paye. I look forward to that. He's going to be a household name as far as the NFL is concerned. I think, sooner rather than later. Justin, you got to make a fake Facebook account, fake Instagram. You've got to do those things. Coming from somebody that served felony warrants for a lot of years, people typically tell on themselves, and they typically, if they think you're a good-looking 20 or 30-something female, they're going to accept that follow request. Will the Colts keep Mac? No. I think he's going to be gone. But then we have Naheem Hines, who I'm a big fan of, but he's getting paid a tremendous amount of money. Absolutely. Catfish, that's how it works, man. But law enforcement does the catfish thing all the time. You would not believe the amount of guys that we've arrested for, big felony warrants. And when I say big, I'm talking wanted for homicide, things of that nature. That guys put their location and everything else out on the Facebook. Sheriff's office when you. Of course, yeah. They typically never. It's hard to pack your stuff up, say goodbye, and to know you're going to jail. That's hard to do. Even when people have the greatest intentions, it's hard to walk out that door and know that you're going straight to jails. So they're always like, I'll go in the morning. I'll go. I promise I'm going to go tomorrow. I swear. No. 2010, I think it was. For the Sheriff's Department. Well, hell, that's a hell of a part-time gig, though, man. You can make a lot of money doing that, from what I hear. So, as far as the Colts and the quarterback position, thank you, Gage. I appreciate that, man. That's the $1 million question. I haven't the slightest on who could even possibly be behind center week one. I know who it won't be, and it won't be Carson Wentz. They are playing, and that's why I was saying the Colts have been playing quarterback roulette for the past 5 seasons. I would love to see them just draft a quarterback and say, hey, this is our guy, good, bad, ugly. We're investing in him. This is our guy. So March is going to be a crazy month. I assure you, we're going to sit here. St. Patty's Day is going to be the day. We're going to sit back and break all this down because there's going to be so many movements that are going on. We're not going to be able to keep up with it. So don't make plans for St. Patty's Day. Plan on being here because we're going to sit back and I won't be drink, but you can drink a green beer and we'll talk about where Carson Wentz went and hopefully at that point and who else has gone where. Because at 4:01 on March 16th, it's going to be fireworks without question. Guys, I just realized it's 1:15. I've been on here a lot longer than I anticipated. Thank you so much. If you haven't followed me yet, please, I beg of you, give me a follow. And also, if you go to YouTube, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll upload the live. You can fast forward me, rewind it, see anything that you missed. But I can't thank you enough for your support. Thank you guys so much. Come back again tomorrow evening. We'll do it all over again. I'll keep up as much as I can with any movement that's going on in the league and anywhere else for that matter. So all you all be safe. Do something good for somebody. Say something good to somebody. Please smash that screen a couple times before you leave. Give me a few likes. That helps. Or like 3.3K. I always try to get at least to 5,000. But give me a follow. And again, Officer Craig on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. Do better, be better. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much.